Hello. I've decided to make a video on how I usually build coasters because I thought an example would be more helpful than just a simple guide. If the audio messes up, I'm sorry because my microphone is just really bad. Yeah. I'm playing the sheer cliff scenario right now, and right now I've unlocked the vertical drop coaster, and I decided to show this as an example on how to build coasters. I've also completed a research a few days ago, in game time of course, and I found out that the intensity I should be going for is around 60 to 80 maybe, because those are big target groups. If I can show you the info on my park here sorted by intensity, I currently have a junior coaster that goes up to 70, but I'm not really reaching these super high intensities, and my guests have been complaining that they are lacking high intensity rides. So yeah, the initial research basically tells me that I have to go for a coaster in the 80s. So my goal will be to go for a vertical drop coaster that has an intensity of maybe 80 to 85. Yeah. I decided that I want the station around here, and yeah, I will just start now. Selecting the coaster, and we can see the station is pretty big, and I also have to think about how the layout will fit in with the other existing tracks. So maybe that people will come down by stairs, and or I don't know, or maybe wrap around here. So a good idea would probably be placing the station around here also, and then having coasters come in here, trains I mean, and then shoot them off around here, and then maybe go by the houses. So yeah, I'll place the initial piece. We have those Eurofighter style cars here, and by making the station longer, you can obviously serve larger trains. But as you can see, if I build a longer station, the cars won't really get bigger. So anything beyond 2 tiles is pretty much a waste. So we'll go back on that one. And what I did here just now is just placing down the entrance and exit, so they don't will annoy me when using this window here. We will keep that open to keep the intensity in check and see if we can get good excitement ratings out of this. Yeah, so we only have one acceleration method, that is the chain lift, or we can just use an initial drop maybe, which I think I will do because I want the general shape of my scenario to go like down here. Another thing we have to plan around is, which I also mentioned in my guide on Reddit, we have to play around the fill times of one train. Our trains currently have 8 passengers, so we can say that we should have blocks that have a length of around about 8 seconds, but with walk times and such, maybe 12 seconds would be a good timing. So yeah, I'll just start and then comment when something interesting happens. Okay, I think we already got the first block down. The chain lift acts as a, well, block divider, I could say, which means that after the chain lift is completed by the first train, the next train can enter the track. As you can see, we're at around 12 seconds, and coincidentally, we've already reached the top of the cliffs here, so that's nice for us. A good thing right now would be to just place in, well, I don't want to say empty track piece, but just something that stops the chain lift block. So I'm thinking either we could do a drop here or just let the car cruise around a bit. And since the area ends here, I think a good idea would be to find a better place for the drop. So maybe a bit of soft cruising before we get to the action part. The intensity is already at 25.3, which is mostly because of the chain lift that has really good influence on the excitement and intensity. Basically, the acceleration methods already give you a good chunk of those ratings, and you can play around with the chain lift speed or the acceleration rate of LSM strips to alter the ratings a bit. Sorry. So I will now try to get here a bit and make it a block that is about 12 seconds long or a bit shorter. This block here is about 13 seconds, so we can now try to get shorter blocks in. If you want to manipulate the intensity rating a bit, you can always take a look at tracks you've already placed and maybe make vertical bends a bit sharper or horizontal curves. High speeds, of course, do the same thing as just making the turn a bit sharper. We are now at the very beginning of the track, so we still have a high ceiling on intensity because we want to get to around 80. But we've already reached 40, so we can now fit in a few smoother sections that just basically add excitement. I'm not quite sure about the influence of airtime and such, but I just try to squeeze in some just for good measure. So maybe a bit of a bunny hop section would be nice here. The speed isn't quite what I imagined it to be, so maybe just make the hill a bit smaller. Something that I found is actually pretty nice is making use of these pre-built S-bends. They don't really add much intensity unless you go at really high speeds like 70 kilometers per hour, but they do have nice excitement increases to them. Let's see. So we're at 28.5 now. It's a bit better at higher speeds, of course, but you have to find a point where the intensity doesn't skyrocket because it's a pretty abrupt change of speed after all. I think the speed is too low here for it to make really much of an impact, but as you can see, the intensity didn't do anything, so it's basically just free excitement. Although I think maybe what would be better here would be a manually made S-bend or just too wide, because I don't seem to be able to get through here. But I really think this would be a nice place to squeeze the coaster through, so maybe on the way back. The location seems to be occupied. I think it has to do with the path here, so I'll have to go back one step and unbank the whole thing, because the banking sometimes is a problem when going near other objects that might be intruding into the space of the coaster, or vice versa. About around here, we should look out for another opportunity to put in a block break or another device to create a new block. I think I saw, yeah, we're at 23 seconds right now. We said that our blocks are around 12 seconds. First one is 13, so Judging by that, within the next 2 seconds, we should add a new block. This right here is a pretty sharp drop, so I think we should get a bit of intensity out of that, maybe to like 45 or so. Seems the speed isn't high enough. I just take the free excitement that got with it, because that's the goal after all, to get a lot of excitement out of it. Alright, this is a good place to think about the general course of the coaster. I think around here we could enter a big drop, so that's also a good section to enter a block break, because we want to make sure that a block always starts before a way to enter energy into the coaster in case it stops there. For example, an acceleration method such as the LSM strips, the lift hills, or just a simple drop like I'm about to do right now. Yeah, that's a good place. A good thing you can do with, for example, the vertical drop coaster or the hypercoaster and such is you can make a block shorter than you need to, and use a holding brake instead of a normal block brake, because the holding brakes also do a lot in the excitement department. So that's an option you can make use of when you are forced to make the block a bit longer than you actually want to, because the terrain is nice or whatever. One thing to keep in mind is that drops usually don't have that much of an intensity, but getting them back to horizontal is what usually does a lot here. So we're at 44.2 now. I'll try to get these horizontal now and see what we get now. So yeah, as you can see, the intensity rating jumped by like 25. You can smooth it out a bit by just going back and seeing if you can use a bigger radius. Let's watch that one for a bit. 70 is already pretty close to our intended intensity, and we might want to use these special elements that are always good in creating exciting sections. So wasting our excitement on, well, just basic drop isn't really what we're going for right now. I definitely want to make use of the beyond vertical drop, so maybe going back up here and then dropping down and going around here would be a good idea. That's not too bad. This is about the height that the train could still reach after stopping here, so we will use this height and then continue with the lift hill to supply the rest of the energy. I was thinking maybe placing a toilet here also, or another station building, so we'll leave a bit of space and just increase the size of it. What's now interesting to us is, of course, the timings again. We are going in 12-second steps, and we can see we're about at 36 right here. So we've done everything right. Now the thing is, I want to make use of a holding brake and a beyond vertical drop, and because of that, the following block, of course, will be a bit shorter and contain the holding brake as a measure to increase the time. This is also a tip I can give. If you have one of these coasters that have that option, that's a really good way to adjust your timings on the fly after building a complete coaster. We've already hit very high excitement ratings, and we still have like 24 intensities to spare, but those will be used in the next elements. Let's see. The thing is, I don't want to follow the beyond vertical drop with the holding brake, because then I'll stop here and lose all the kinetic energy that we've built up from this height. So I'll probably just enter the holding brake around here. Just leave it at 5 seconds for now. As you can see, it's a bit of a slow process because we always have to wait for the ghost train to complete the track. Yeah, something else I mentioned is in my guide is that on some coasters, when you use block brakes, the train will actually start from those brakes and the ratings will stop updating. In that case, you can just remove the brakes and replace them with a vanilla straight track piece, and the train will just do its usual thing. And then in the end you can replace them. As you can see, the holding brake did a bit to the excitement, but not really much to the intensity. The best effect is when you have a very steep drop for the holding brake. So I think maybe we will use the holding brake at some other place and just do the vertical drop around here. And instead, we will do another drop somewhere around here. All right. I think I'll watch the ratings for this run and then decide on how much of a radius we will use on the bottom here. We still have plenty of space because I intend to go down here with the scenery. All right, that wasn't too bad, so maybe this. think we need to place the next section for the rating to really jump. We have a lot of speed around here, so I'll definitely go with the hard banked section. Not quite sure on the slope yet, but we'll just go with that. I'm trying to squeeze through here and then maybe go around here also. If we can't do that, we just go around and then up and through the house. Yeah, that's not too bad. Alright, so I think I'll just try going up one more. Yes. Then go straight. Unbank the whole thing. Is that possible? No, it's not. Alright. Maybe a slower one. And then drop down again. Yeah, that looks good. But I think now the path might be a problem. Yeah. Alright, we can squeeze through here. That should also provide a bit of airtime. By the way, I'm not really basing my constructions on any real-life coasters. I'm just chaining whatever elements are fine fitting. It's a game after all, so I'm not really going for realism. Right, that seems pretty nice so far. That's a bit nasty. What can I do? I think the problem here is the path. Yeah, we already knew it might be a problem, so it's not really shocking. Instead, I'll just go for the over and around tactic that I mentioned before. You can of course speed the whole thing up while going into ×3 mode, but I'm still trying to complete the scenarios with the optional goals, meaning the time limit. I have about 3 years here, but I don't really like keeping the park running in the background and then maybe missing stuff and getting the guests angry. It's not really a problem in this park because the goal is just 500 visitors, but I like to keep my ratings topped. If you know you want to lead into a curve, you might start with slow banking angles and then just slowly getting into the angles that you actually want. Now we're interfering with the coaster here, so yeah. It's a bit of a trial and error if you want to squeeze through really tight spaces. But I like that much more than having to freely decide on a coaster layout, because I can't really get creative with just the free space. Alright, this one works, but then this will be a bit too tight. So I think the best idea is just going with another straight piece, keeping the corner short. And then moving the corner around here. Right, new plan. I think I'll do a bit of a valley here. And then just dive around the whole thing if that's possible. Yeah, it is. Perfect. Can I go? I think I might make use of the inversions here. Maybe a corkscrew and then followed by, I don't know, either a half loop, or I just take back this whole thing and do a double corkscrew. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So we build up some momentum and go for the corkscrew. Yeah, that would be nice. Also has some nice interaction with the roofs, which I built as a bit of a relaxing spot. Not quite happy with this. So I make this one a bit shorter. Doesn't work, of course. But this should work, I think. Yeah. We also got the nice splitting interaction I wanted. It's just something I think is interesting. You don't really need to go for any path interactions. Although, if you want to increase the, let's say, the attractiveness of your coaster, you should always go for paths that, well, layouts that interact with the path, because sometimes people will stop and watch a coaster or attraction and then decide to go on it. And if you go for high excitement attractions that also, of course, are able to generate a lot of money, you might want to get a lot of guests in. Now is another good time to watch the timing of our coaster, because we should reach the 48 seconds around here. 48 seconds. It was a bit more than that, so actually that would be a good space to put in the next block break. It's a bit of a desperation move, to be honest. Sometimes you just got to take a tiny hit. Of course, if you want to go and fully optimize the whole thing, then you'll religiously stick to your own timings. But I think we can take it. The whole thing is already at 75.5 excitement, so we can take about like $10 per ride admission, and that will generate a lot of cash. All right, now it's a good idea to think about how to end the coaster. I thought maybe we can go around here, do a drop with the holding brake, and then go around here. yeah, I can build over this. All right, I think in order to manage with the space, I might go a bit to the right, then lead into it with a helix, and then do the holding break. Let's see, I can't really twist this, but that's okay. That's annoying. I think, yeah, I can fit below here. That's nice. I could have also used a chain lift and go over it, but actually I don't want that much more intensity, so we don't really want to get any more energy into the solo thing. I think a good idea would be a slight bunny hop into the drop. Like so, and then this with the holding break. And I don't know, maybe like hop over the rocks. We'll just watch what it does for a second and then decide which elements we're going to use. After all, we only have about 12 intensity left to spare, and we don't want to overshoot our goals. Although this shouldn't be too hard since yeah, the drop isn't too high. 82 is already a pretty good excitement, and the intensity is almost at 80, which is about what we want. Remember that brakes also add to intensity, so if you come in at high speeds and force the train to stop over a short distance, that obviously means a lot of longitudinal g-forces. Yeah, you see, this is deep blue, so actually, if we take a look around here, it's the deepest blue we can find, so this is currently the highest, well, braking force, I could say, we have on the track. There's also something to keep in mind when leading back to the station, because if you don't have good timings and you just let your trains run straight into the station and maybe have a single block break before them as a buffer, incoming trains might run into the single block break and have to stop over just a single block, and that can kick up your intensity ratings without you actually wanting it. And depending on whether you have a bit of a fluctuating timing on it, you can really have fluctuating intensities with it, and of course you want a bit of a security in how intense your ride is. So what I like to do is either do a brake run, or you plan around this effect, or the other thing you can do is you take out trains and make sure that the train already left the station before the next one comes in. That's of course a bit of a problem with the throughput, because depending on how much time you have between one train leaving the station and the next one coming in, you're wasting serving time of the station, essentially hurting your maximum throughput, because that's pretty much what your throughput is. The amount of customers your station can handle in a certain set of time. All right, now we want to lead back into it. So we want can I get this a bit sharper? That's a bit annoying. A looping or such would be nice, but or maybe a bit wider corkscrew. By the way, the corkscrew doesn't have to be an inversion in that sense, because you can play around with the banking angle. So maybe you just want a nice steeply banked turn, so you can just do something like this. Now the real question is, of course, how to get back down. Yeah, I think that could work. Yeah, and then maybe lead up like this. We watched the whole thing for one last time. See if it can actually complete the next element, although the block break, the holding break stops higher than that. Yeah, 83 isn't too far from where we wanted to go, and we also want it to serve the customers who fall into the 90 intensity category. So we still have the frame of 80 to 85 that we wanted in the beginning. Now we have to think about how to get back to the station, and of course the first thing you should do is get back to the same level. It's a bit of playing around with different slope types and yeah, just messing around until you find a good combination that leads up to the general height of the whole thing. Maybe like this. And go back one. No, that's too far. Maybe I just go for two. Nope, also not. Straight. This could work. Yeah, 5.25 is pretty much what we want. The auto completion tool can jump by a quarter of a block height, so that's plenty enough. Now, of course, the unbanking. But take a look at how far in we should place the block break. Maybe we have to do it pretty quickly. All right, we had a 12-hour timing and we saw that this one crossed 1 minute, so 12 times 5 So it might be a good idea to make this one a tiny bit shorter, maybe like 4 seconds. And get back to editing the buffer. It's important that when building a buffer, but also when building everything else, that you make sure that the blocks are long enough to hold the train. Our trains are about 2 tiles long, so that won't be a problem here. And this one is a pretty short section, so we will just use this one train segment, I could say, to hold the train. All right, that's a pretty nice rating. We have about 90 of excitement. That's, yeah, it's extreme. The intensity is right where we want it. And now we have to make sure that the time is, well, that the intensity and such are conserved. So now we switch into the testing mode. And we take a look. So we have about 6 trains around here. This train here might be waiting for this one to clear, which is a bit of a problem. So we'll take out just one, and that should take care of everything. All right, let's start with the test run. It's also a good idea when going into the test run to emulate the loading time by adjusting the minimum and maximum waiting time. So we have about 12 seconds, as we said. So right, it seems like the first part right here was pretty well done, although I think this time it's something not just that. So that it's sometimes operated so watch for a bit, because sometimes the trains have to run for a bit before they actually distribute equally on the track. Of course, we're still watching our ratings here. You can see which cars are one measuring by watching the graph, although sometimes they cut out a little on this sort of thing. Alright, the ratings seem to be stable, so that might actually be ready to open. We have a rating of 90, so times 1.5 through 10 would be 135, 13.5. Let's just go with 13 to be sure. We don't want to anger our customers with too high prices. Right. Now the next thing is how to build a queue. Of course, a queue has to hold at least one train worth of customers. We should obviously go a bit higher, so that the queue can buffer a little for times when the interest is low and the trains can keep running at full capacity. So we have 8 customers per train. That of course means we have to do 8 customers divided by 4, because one tile of queue can each hold 4 guests. And that means we can have a pretty short queue, but I want to go for something like 4 to 5 tiles. I think a good idea would be to go down here. Yeah, I think I have an idea. We will start out over here and then try to go down. Also, one important thing is I placed these just to get rid of them when I'm going through this window, but make sure to place the entrance as close to the center of the cars as possible. The Eurofighter trains stop on this tile here, so we want the entrance, of course, to be on this side and not on this. The exit can be wherever, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Getting here could be a problem, but maybe if I wrap around here or even place the entrance there, yes, that doesn't really sound too bad, if I'm honest. Can I go there? Yeah, perfect. Maybe like I think the banking is a bit of a problem. Alright, I have other options, for example, going back down here, which is probably what I'm going to make use of. This doesn't seem to be working out. I think the best thing to do is then just making it less complex and leading it down in a simple way. And the exit can go... Good question. I don't know, maybe here through, and then we can do whatever. Yeah, actually I have a good idea. We just go through here, here, and then, if it's possible, wrap through here. Perfect. Alright, let's see the whole thing in action and what customers think of it.
was originally placed on some location, maybe it would have been better to put this station up here or something. But this was mostly interesting on architecture. I think that it's not oh, that's a good thing. Yeah. First customer is off. We might want to potentially so that customers don't wander as we continue building around here, of course customers will come by the entrance more and thus use of the possible piece. But you can already see that the house going to affect I think the whole thing. So yeah, wasn't just one video, I just did it unscripted or anything to give you the general experience of editing closer. And I hope it helps. See ya.